You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Question for you. Would you rather pay $150 a month or $15 a month to work out with the same high-quality gym equipment? At Planet Fitness, you can get top-tier equipment for $15 a month. Plus, save $28 or more when you join now during our Strong Choice sale. Our weights weigh the same, you just don't pay the same. Enjoy free fitness training and 24-hour access at most clubs, all in the judgment-free zone. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more when you join for $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends October 10th. See club for details.
And W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Check out postseason baseball. We have the best of three wildcard round wrapping up for three of the four series. The one that has not been concluded, the Brewers stay alive with a 5-3 win over the Mets. Milwaukee's Jackson Chirios hit a pair of solo homers, and Garrett Mitchell's two-run shot in the eighth inning was the difference. The series is tied at 1. A deciding Game 3 is tonight in Milwaukee. Padres eliminate the Braves with a 5-4 win. San Diego scored all 5 of their runs in the second inning. Jackson Merrill's 2 RBI triple ended up being the game-winning hit. San Diego wins that series 2-0 to advance to face the Dodgers in the NLDS. Royals close out the Orioles in Baltimore with a 2-1 win. Kansas City star Bobby Witt Jr. brought home the game-winning run on an infield single in the sixth inning. Royals used 6 different pitchers to hold Baltimore to a run on 6 hits. Kansas City wins that series 2-0 to advance to face the Yankees in the ALDS. Tigers beat the Astros in Houston 5-2. Detroit's Andy Ibanez bases loaded 3 RBI double in the 8th, the game-winning hit. Houston wins the series 2-0.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick you, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on this Thursday edition, brought to you by Box Eye Care. We have the playbook, and it includes recruiting, Jalen's growth over the course of 4 games this season, avoiding a Vandy hangover. We'll talk about how to improve the offensive line. There's been the areas that Bama needs to improve on, a look around the SEC, and an inside look at Vandy and more. Over to you.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning. We want to go ahead and invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. To learn more about empowerment strategy, go to empowermentstrategy.com. That's empowerment spelled with an M. That'll tell you about all the great things that we have going on, including empowering leadership, as well as financial fullback, which is a financial literacy program targeting helping high school students, and of course, real estate and banking. All of those great things happening under the umbrella of Empowerment Strategy and Solutions. 205-342-9904. That's how you can get in on the conversation if you listen on the radio airways. And, of course, if you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can always add your comments into the chat, and we'll work it into the conversation. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Let's roll.
As
Tide.
we get ready to kick off this episode, of course, we said we're talking recruiting, and what a weekend it was for Alabama and their recruiting. There was over 100 recruits at this game, which has to be a record. Yeah, I don't think there could be a number bigger than that. It was a lot of the guys that are committed in this class. Only, I think, tight end Caleb Edwards and punter Alec Asperfunny, how do you say his last name, that will be back for games later this season, not there. And Michael Carroll, the offensive lineman, who will be in town for the Ole Miss game. Man, it is absolutely crazy, the atmosphere that these guys got to watch. And we had some news come out. We had Duke Johnson, the linebacker out of Georgia. He said, "That's it. I'm done. Shutting down my recruitment. Bama is where I want to be." Had a couple wide receiver prospects that got to hang out with Julio Jones, and that includes 4-star wide receiver in the 2026 class, Cedarian Morgan out of Benjamin Russell in Alex City. He said he talked to Julio, said it was a great atmosphere, and that he really got a feel and feels like this is a place that he can call home. And of course, he talked about Ryan Williams' performance and how impactful that was, and that he could see himself doing the same thing in a couple of years in an Alabama uniform. Really think this is going to be an in-state battle for this young man. And I think if you look at Alabama's freshman wide receiver this year versus what you got going down on in the Plains, I feel pretty good if this trend continues for Bama, that Morgan will end up in the Crimson Tide uniform. So big things there. Had another junior 26 member of this class, Jet Washington, who is a 6'5", 200-pound safety. Guess who his uncle is?
Who was that?
Kobe Bryant. He goes to Bishop Gorman out in Las Vegas. He was at the game, said he loved the atmosphere. What an exciting time it was. So I think Bama's making moves there. Then we had a couple of guys that were committed to other schools that were at the game as well, and that was Ivan Taylor, who's committed to Michigan. He said he loved it, said he'll try to get another visit in. He's the son of Ike Taylor, former Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback. Bama didn't go as hard after him when he was thinking about flipping between Notre Dame, but they're really going after him now after the decommitment of Derek Smith to Auburn. So I think he's the guy that you'll see that Bama really goes after and potentially lands in this 2025 class, as Bama doesn't have a safety commit this year. The safety position is kind of like that running back position last year. Couldn't get a guy to commit during the season, went down the stretch, and then you end up getting a flip from Kevin Riley, and then, of course, signing Daniel Hill. So those are the guys that you really want to look at so far in this class, with the big news that's coming out about where their moves are, what's going on with them. Also had, of course, Andrew Olesh. Alabama's trying to get a second tight end. He's also a Michigan commit. He really loved what he saw at the game. And Bama used the tight ends a lot. Utes, Dupree, and Cuevas all caught passes from Jalen on Saturday. So that shows you that the tight end will be used moving forward in this offense. So I think we'll start to see the tight end position come back to life on the recruiting trail for Bama as well. But we have Pat calling in on the Empowerment Strategy and Solution hotline to talk recruiting. How you doing this morning, Pat?
Good morning, guys. I want to talk about First X. I want to know what's the latest on Jalen Hale. Is he going to be available for the playoffs? That would be a godsend, as they say.
I mean, Jalen Hill would always be a boost, but if I'm Jalen, honestly, I think it depends on the number of games that he can get back and actually be ready for. Otherwise, be smart, take a red shirt, create a little distance between you and maybe some of the older guys so that you can come back next year and be healthy and ready to go. That's what I see happening.
It seemed like to me, I read somewhere where that playoff games do not count.
It doesn't matter
as far as your games.
Count or not. He gets 4 games without losing this year anyway. So, but I don't know how healthy he'll be. I think it's based on his health. And I think if he comes back healthy, if he didn't come back in the next few weeks, I think he'll be a red shirt regardless whether he plays in the playoffs games or not.
Okay. All right. I hadn't been able to read anything about Justice Terry about if he has a game set up that he's coming back for an official visit this fall. What have you heard, X?
I haven't heard anything about him coming back for a game yet, but it's still early. I know he'll be at Georgia this weekend for the Auburn game. So he's leaning. He's been a Georgia lean this whole time. So if he does come back, I think that really says something about his interest in Bama.
Okay. One last question, and let someone else talk. That you mentioned the 6'5" safety out of Bishop Gorman. That does a 6'5" safety have the fast twitch hips enough to turn and run?
I actually got to watch him play the first game of the season this year against St. Thomas Aquinas, and Jet can move pretty well for his frame, and he's one of those. And he's not a basketball player playing football. He is a football player. So there's that. But
has he played basketball though?
He has.
Yeah, and so there you go. Don't get caught up in the height. I think we still fight to understand that we used to stereotype kids from the time they were younger. Okay. The reason, and I'm going to use a basketball analogy, the reason international players can shoot threes lights out in comparison to the way a lot of American big men, that's changing slowly, but can shoot the threes is because we took tall kids and made them play with their back to the goal and said, you're going to be tall or whatever. And if they stayed on that trajectory, they never learn to shoot. Well, it's the same way with tall football players and tall basketball players. Nico up at Tennessee is 6'6". And he has fast twitch muscles because they kept playing him at a position and they didn't change it when he got tall. But he learned it when he was younger. So the height thing, I always tell people, we have to just transition our mindset, X, to fit, and allow kids to play and stuff like that. And then you have to also remember, X, with this this defense, one of the DBs is really like a third linebacker.
Right.
And you got a guy like him, you may have a unicorn.
100%. And he's a guy, he's only a junior, so he could end up. I remember when there used to be big safeties. Even before you look at Mark Barron, Robert Lester, those guys were 6'2", 6'3", 215. Then you look at Sean Taylor, 6'3", 230. So big safeties are a thing, and you have Kyle Hamilton in the NFL right now. He's 6'4", about 220, playing safety for the Baltimore Ravens. So,
he's a beast.
Yeah, and he's an absolute animal. So the height, I don't think would be an issue. He'll fill out more, put a little bit more size on, probably be in that 215 to 225 range at the end of the day. And I think he'll keep his flexibility and his athleticism. But appreciate you calling in, Pat. We got to get to break.
Have a blessed day, guys.
Thanks, Pat. All right. Hey, as we get to break here, I want to remind you about Box Eye Care. Go check out Box Eye Care. They have all the great services you've traditionally come to know and trust. They have a brand new lab that offers you so much more. Great inventory. They also have added laser vision correction, consultation, and comprehensive eye care, dry eye treatment, and more. They now also offer laser skin care. That's Box Eye Care, boxeyecare.com. Their new location on Oscar Baxter Drive, 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. Go check them out or give them a call, 205-342-0660. We'll keep the conversation going with a little recruiting on the other side, and we'll keep it going right here with you on your home for Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very happy Thursday to you. Not seeing much along the lines of delays. We do have a few slow ups here and there, but that's just intersection slow go. So once you pass that, you're good to go. And on McFarland, you've got east and westbound delays right around Harper Road at that intersection. And also again, a trade.
Shop Macy's VIP sale going on now. Use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 30% off the latest fall trends from designers that rarely go on sale. And save 15% off skincare, makeup, fragrances, and more. Plus, shop fall specials for even more great deals on top brands at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Starts at only $19,900. For the number one selling Nissan Rogue SUV, we offer discounts up to $3,000. And yes, we have 2- and 4-wheel drives in stock. See BJ or Kylan at Townsend Nissan today.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather stays warm and dry today. Partially sunny with a high at 86. Mostly fair tonight, the low 67. Tomorrow, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. The chance of a few isolated showers during the day. The high tomorrow afternoon at 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 64 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. I want to encourage you to go check out the venue, your new favorite Tuscaloosa hangout, food, music, and more. Come taste what's new. You have Liza's Sweet Shop, all-day breakfast and burgers from Ramajama's, and then, of course, quality food at Finney's Pub. Go check them out. Great environment, great place to hang out, and that is the venue at Tuscaloosa, located right there off of Watermelon Road, just past Sokol Park. You can find them online and get more details at the venue, Tuscaloosa.com.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. And as we continue the conversation, we have a little bit of recruiting news on the basketball side of things. We have the number one player in the country, AJ Dibenase. He was here in town. It looked like he had a blast as well with some of the other basketball recruits, with Coach Oates at the game. So I think that this atmosphere, once again, Alabama football and basketball are feeding off of each other and going to help each other grow their programs. I think the relationship between Coach DeBoer and Coach Oates will take the shape and form that you saw with Coach Saban wanting to help the basketball team. So I think that'll continue to be how things progress as this year goes on and the years go on to help both programs grow.
I'm gonna give you an even better example of a relationship, X, and not saying I'm a big Urban Meyer fan, but what was the greatest heyday of Florida football? They had a coach on the sideline named Urban Meyer, who was probably in his late 40s at that time, and a coach named Billy Donovan. They won national championships in football and basketball. And they lived on, I don't think these two guys live on the same street, but they lived on the same street. They were great neighbors, and they literally had a game plan and strategy. It's really neat. I've read part of the book, didn't read it all, but it was really neat how they partnered together to support each other's program and made it a point to point out to each athlete, hey man, look at the time and a time you get to enjoy your college experience while here, whether it's football players during basketball season or basketball players during football season. And I think we may get to see some of that type of relationship continue to form, being that these guys are the same age, both young, both have the programs in great position. So, and maybe we'll get to see those same results. Hey, I had a question. You know, you're talking about the big safety and him being a junior, and it's very possible, X, that he could grow himself. I said he could come in and play, but he also could grow himself, out of that safety position, sort of like a guy did that was one of the top recruits, and he's kind of been lost in obscurity, and we haven't even mentioned his name this year, I don't think, and that's Keon Keeley. What have you heard anything on him? And with the way college football is today, will he wait his turn when he sees what these other guys in front of him are doing, or will he become impatient?
That's a great question with Keon. He played in the Western Kentucky game, and I think that's the only game he's played in so far this year. But he's a guy that has had to learn. He was a defensive end in high school. Then he learned to be an outside linebacker, and then they said, well, we're going to move you back to DN, but this time you got to put weight on. And so he's been doing that. He's been putting the work in. And with the way college football is, could he leave? Absolutely. But I think Coach Womack, Coach Roach, they're going to have to keep him engaged in some form to be able to get him to stick around while he is waiting his turn. Now, granted, you look at who Tim Smith's gone, Jamarian Latham's gone, LT Overton potentially could be gone after this year. So with where he's sitting, he would be the next man up at that bandit position. So it'll be interesting to see if he can tough it out one more year while being a guy that was one of the best in his class. But I think if he does, he might be the guy next year.
Does LT Overton's season, which could lead to him going to the league and or coming back, but does LT's transition help him make that transition, because LT is taking him a couple of years to get to that place? So does LT's dominant season, if it continues, whether he comes back or not, does it show Keon what can be the possibility?
It 100% does, and I think LT was, once again, he had to grow this year, and you're talking about a guy that's going into his junior year. Technically, I mean, he was a Ryan Williams type, graduated a year early, so he's having to grow as well physically. So I think it could be a positive whether LT leaves or not. I think he will be in the rotation regardless next year.
All right.
So next thing I wanted to get into was we kind of hit on it the other day, but just the maturation and the growth of Jalen Milroe in this offense and what we've seen from him so far. We talk about the comparisons of a Michael Penix and how he grew up under Kalen DeBoer and things. Is Jalen on a fast-track version of that, being the first year in this system?
Yeah, and, this is the part we have to remember with Jalen, what have we seen from the last two SEC quarterbacks that were graduate assistants at powerhouse programs, at the same powerhouse program? They were graduates. We saw Burrow, right, just take off, explode, but he was a graduate. And he was able to spend time, extra time, and all of that, right? And he got a new coach that year. Then last year, you saw Daniels. Same thing. I said it last year, and I haven't brought it back up, but as soon as the board got the job, well, actually, it was right after he got the job, I said Jalen could go through the roof because he's now going to be able to approach the game like a pro. He's going to be able to spend time with the coaches like an NFL quarterback. He's going to get to watch a lot of extra film because he's a graduate student. And, I was in grad school and I had one class. I had to take care of a baby and take a baby to daycare and all that stuff. But for those of you who don't know what that means is I was married and, for 3.5 years when I played ball, and my son, Xavier, who's on here with me now, he was about 12 months old when the season started. So, and I would take him to daycare, and then I had all day to do things, and I got better because I could watch film and I could really know my opponent and all of those things. And for a quarterback, that's invaluable. Here's what Coach Sheridan had to say about Jalen X, and let's see what he had to say, and then I'll let you comment.
I don't know if I would use those terms. I know that's I would just say that we're continuing to improve, and what has happened in the past has no impact on the game this Saturday. There's no carryover yards, points, completions. Each week in this conference and at the highest level of competition in college football, which is what we're in, it starts over, and so you got to earn it each and every week. And so that's really the message and the focus for the players is that we have to put a good plan in for the players this week. They, have to practice hard. We got to prepare them. We got to go execute on game day. And no matter what has happened in the past or the completion percentages of previous games, good or bad, has no impact on what the game's going to look like on Saturday. It's about what you do and how well you prepare and how well you execute in those moments. And so obviously that was, a good job, and we needed those, completions to find a way to go 1-0 last week. But the things that occurred last week and the plays that maybe worked last week, that has no impact on the team that we're going against this week. And, you're challenged each week in this league. The coach, Coach Lee and the staff there at Vanderbilt are some of the best defensive coaches in the country. The respect that we have for them is tremendous. And so it'll be a great challenge for our players to try to execute to the best of their ability this week.
That was Coach Sheridan. He's not as open as Womack X. He kind of hem-hawed around it, but the reality of it is he's right. It doesn't carry over, but we saw the tremendous growth with Jalen last week.
Yeah, and I think that was the first time we really had to see it. And man, it was a beautiful thing to watch. For all season, you had not just the country, you had a lot of Alabama fans not believe that Jalen could make that type of jump. And to go against what a lot of people consider the best defense in the country with the best defensive coach for sure, mind in the country in Kirby Smart, and he was able to dissect them. It wasn't just deep balls down the sideline. It was throws over the middle. Even one of the best throws I think he made all night, even though we ended up still punting on the drive, was after Ryan Williams muffed the kickoff, that throw he had to Cole Adams across the middle, where he threw it slightly behind Cole, but in my opinion, that was intentional. So he made sure that Cole didn't get his head took off by the safety that was standing there just waiting. It's little things like that you've seen in Jalen's game that have improved that make me go, man, this guy's getting better, and he's starting to make all of the throws.
Yeah, X, even on the one where he had the interception, I've heard people say, well, he threw it behind him. He did throw it behind him to the backside. But if he had thrown it in front of him, your tight end would have kept running. And to your point, probably would have got his head taken off by the Georgia player that was waiting on him. We are going to continue that conversation because Jalen's growth. Has Jalen grown as much as we think he has? Or how much of it was you had a cage lion playing last year? We'll talk about it on the other side right here on the Martin Houston Show. As we go to break, I want to encourage you to mark down the date, December 12th, 2024. December 3rd, 2024, bringing Live to Lead to Tuscaloosa. Headline simulcast event by John Maxwell, Malcolm Gladwell, John Gordon, amongst others. And this lineup will be a powerhouse lineup that's featuring abundant mindset. Have that abundant mindset. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So mark it down. It'll be at Bryant Comfort Center. That's Live to Lead. More details to follow.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very happy Thursday to you. Not seeing much along the lines of delays. We do have a few slow ups here and there, but that's just intersection slow go. So once you pass that, you're good to go. And on McFarland, you've got east and westbound delays right around Harper Road at that intersection. And also
when you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
In Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. I want to thank you for all of my sponsors. That's Taco Casa, tacocasa.com, the venue, Tuscaloosa.com, and also Houston Hydrosteam, HoustonHydrosteam.com, along with the Box Eye Care. They power our show each and every day. I want to thank the good folks over at the pharmacy at Midtown, pharmacymidtown.com. Also, North River Timber and North River Timber LLC. And also, we want to thank the good folks over at Dixie Battery Supply, dixiebatterysupply.com. All of these sponsors help make the Thursday night West Alabama High School show available. And we encourage you to join us tonight at 6 p.m. right here. Same bat time, same bat channels, except it's the p.m., 6 p.m. We'll catch you tonight at.
So continuing that conversation about Jalen and his growth, you brought up as we were going in a break, is it a lot of improvement or was it a caged line? Like, you know what? I think it's both. I think there are a lot more throws Jalen's able to make this year, or he's more confident in himself to make this year than he was last year. But also, I think Reese versus DeBoer and staff, it was obvious, and even Coach Saban said it on a college game day. He said last year's staff wanted one thing out of our quarterback, and then finally we've made the decision to do what fits Jalen best, and you saw the offense explode. Yeah. We talk about Jalen. Jalen has 3 career 100-yard rushing games. Two of those came after that decision. It was the LSU game last year and the Auburn game and now the Georgia game. And you think about every yard he had on the ground in those 3 games were important to Alabama winning the game. Those are 3 of his best passing games as a college player. Every single one of those yards mattered. So I think it's a little bit of both. His confidence level has grown because of this coaching staff, and they're allowing him to do things that last year's staff didn't.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I agree with your analysis there, and add the following: they simply caged him last year, and the fans bought into the negativity. They questioned him. We also forget what happened. What has happened since this offensive line has gotten better? Okay, you see the difference in this guy when he has time, which most quarterbacks get. He was sacked the second or third most times in the country last year, and he is the most electric player in college football. And if he couldn't get away from it, what would happen to a regular quarterback? Let that sink in for a second. How many sacks did he save last year versus how many that happened? And then, like I said, I think his time and growth because of his graduate status has helped him improve mightily, X. So I do think it's a combination. But last year's staff really hurt Jalen. And I'm going to go out on a limb. Could you imagine what would have happened if Kiffin had stayed here with Jalen? And I mean, if you look at the Jalen and not Jalen, Kiffin and Sarkisian, if those guys were here, just think what would have happened with them with the quarterback. I think this may be the most electric offense for a dual threat guy I've seen. But just even Bryce Young in this offense would be through the roof. I definitely think Jalen has improved. But I think this coaching staff can flat out coach quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that you talk about if Kiffin has stayed for Jalen Hurts. I think that's what you were getting at. Like the growth that we saw, because we saw regression from Jalen, one, because his quarterback or his offensive coordinator didn't want him. And you saw the same thing happen with Milroe last year when they didn't want him. He struggled because he was he was playing conservative. 2, he didn't want to make a mistake until they finally let him loose. And he showed out. And that's the same thing that happened with Jalen when he went to Oklahoma. He was let loose, and you saw the growth that he's made to now where he's one of the top paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think you'll see Jalen continue to grow and improve as he continues throughout this season and in the NFL. But we got J-Rob.
Hold on one last thought on that. I was watching. Now, I don't want to put added pressure and not saying this is going to be the case. But Greenberg I was watching an NFL show with Rex Ryan and those guys, and they were talking about Carson Beck. And he said, what? He said, why aren't we talking about Jalen Milroe being the number 1 pick? Because they still was talking about Carson Beck because of what he did in the second half. And he just called him out as a former NFL coach. And then Greenberg admitted after that, listen to what he said. He said, well, I actually ran into Mel Kiper in the back, and he said, Jalen Milroe may have just played himself into the number 1 overall pick. And Rick Ryan was pretty much saying, if you watch that game, why wouldn't you take that dude? He can do it all. So there we go. That wraps up our conversation on the growth of Jalen from X and I.
Yeah. We got J-Rob joining us on the hotline. How you doing this morning, J-Rob? J-Rob?
He had dropped.
J-Rob too. Okay. Well, we'll continue. You know what? Let's jump into that O-line conversation because we talked about that for a split second in there, and you're talking the improvement of the O-line. And I saw a stat last year, and I'll see if I can find the stat again about Jalen's overall. But the offensive line last year had 15 sacks given up at this point of the season. Now, granted, one of those games was a South Florida game where Jalen didn't start, and I think Ty and Tyler got sacked a combined 6 or 7 times in that. But that still means it was 8 sacks on Jalen, who, once again, we stated was one of the most explosive players in college football. But this team has only given up 5 sacks, and I think 3 of those were – 3, if not 4 of those, were in the South Florida game. The last 2 games with a healthy offensive line, Pritchett at right tackle, Proctor at left tackle, 0 sacks. Did you see the clip? There's 2 clips that just stood out to me, and one of them both involved Proctor. One of them, he was going out to set on the edge, and Booker was starting to come out, and Proctor literally reaches out, hits him, and goes, "Go inside." Booker goes inside, flatlines the guy that Brailsford was blocking, and Proctor mans up one-on-one with the edge and dominates him. And then there's another clip of Proctor getting rushed by 2 guys. And this joker sets up right hand in one chest, left hand in the other chest, stuns both of them, allows Jalen to get the throw off. And so that just goes back. I'm looking at Caden Proctor, especially. What we saw from him last year to this year, that maturation, that growth, is huge, especially coming from Jalen's blind side. Jalen is confident enough that he knows I'll see the guy that's coming from me in front, but I know my backside is good. Then as well as Brailsford and what he's able to do in directing the offensive line. No, we've had 1 bad snap through 4 games, and that was taken care of. Haven't seen that again. This offensive line as a unit might be playing themselves into a Joe Moore award.
They are definitely playing good, and this can kind of be a combo of the last conversation of Jalen's improvement to the offensive line. I don't think you can talk about Jalen's improvement without talking about what this offensive line has done. I also think you can talk about the offensive line's improvement without talking about what Jalen is doing. Think about this. No bad snap. So Jalen gets to read the defense without having to find the ball, then try to read the defense. Think about what Coach said yesterday that they were doing to Beck. And hopefully this will help all of the Alabama fans. And I have to be nice because there was a caller who told me sometimes I don't take criticism of Jalen very well. Well, that may be true, may not be true, but a lot of times I don't take well to people who don't know sports, that don't understand what happens, but they want to act like they're an expert. That's what I have a hard time with. Jalen Milroe asks, think about this. Let's flip the script. Last year's offense playing against this year's Alabama defense, X. And Coach Womack said, we gave Beck a pre-snap read. Then we gave him a post-snap read that we changed mid-play. Now, how does a quarterback pre-read a defense? The ball is snapped. He gets the ball. He looks up, and what he thinks he sees changes right as he sees it. That's what right. Jalen was playing against and dealing with last year. He couldn't trust his pre-read, and then if a defense actually disguised the pre-read, he didn't even see it change. If they gave him a pre-read and then they gave him another read, he didn't see them give him the other read. He saw them coming out of the other read into a third read. That's what Jalen Milroe was playing against last year. So with that said, man, this offensive line, they're playing as a unit, and that's what we said we needed to see. It is absolutely amazing what together these guys are doing. And then the other part, X, what is this team doing? You saw the Jalen effect, and we got to get the break, X, but that's okay. The Jalen effect. Just bring me back when we come back on the other side. Let me talk about the Jalen effect and what you saw and how Jalen is making every other offensive player on this team better. No matter what they do, Jalen is making them better. And how this team, if it keeps trending X, what we saw the other night will become the norm versus an outlier. I'll tell you why on the other side.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning, a high-speed chase on I-22 near Jasper in Walker County last night ended with the driver and a Walker County Sheriff's deputy injured. Although it's still unclear what prompted that chase or even where it started, the driver and the deputy were taken to the hospital for evaluation with non-life-threatening injuries. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. All you have to look forward to right now is wide open streets for the time being and the construction work, of course. And so we've got that on 2059 eastbound between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard. And speaking of McFarland, it has its own set of construction and delays from time to time on the eastbound, east.
Question for you. Would you rather pay $150 a month or $15 a month to work out with the same high-quality gym equipment? At Planet Fitness, you can get top-tier equipment for $15 a month. Plus, save $28 or more when you join now during our Strong Choice sale. Our weights weigh the same, you just don't pay the same. Enjoy free fitness training and 24-hour access at most clubs, all in the judgment-free zone. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more when you join for $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends October 10th. See club for details.
If it makes sense for your business.
Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free demo of the Townsquare Business Management Platform. Visit townsquarelocal.com. That's townsquarelocal.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. I've now, under my new business, I've also launched a real estate business, Martin Houston Real Estate, in conjunction with Realty One Group. And I love the opportunity to earn your business, whether you're buying or selling. And right now, there is a $1,000 cash prize, cash incentive, I should say, to help you with your moving expenses. The next 5 clients will get that. Email Martin Houston Real Estate, martinhoustonrealestate@gmail.com, or call 205-826-1381. And once again, that's Martin Houston Real Estate in partnership with Realty One Group, offering you $1,000 to help you have a smooth move. That's Martin Houston Real Estate, martinhoustonrealestate@gmail.com.
Yeah, so as we're continuing that conversation, Jason Relich had a comment, and he said he was going to go out on a limb and say that Saban hindered Jalen's growth because he was trying to fit his scheme versus building around him. And that's 100% what has happened, I think, to just about every quarterback. You know, Saban is, and more so, Saban has allowed his coaches to do that because he's a defensive coach. And so he was more hands off on the offensive side. And so whatever they were wanting to do, that's kind of how it happened. But last year he finally stood up and said, hey, we've got to do something different. And we saw the growth of that. So, yeah, I think Saban and staff definitely hindered the growth of several quarterbacks while they were here.
And people say Saban wasn't involved with that decision, and Saban finally relented. We had an entire month, and we went back to the exact same offense we had ran at the beginning of the year. That's Saban. That you can't tell me that Reese decided after the Georgia game to go back to that. I just think that we say it's Reese, but I think it's both and because we saw it with every coach. the one thing that Saban always prided himself on was he would say he wouldn't bring a square peg in and try to make it fit into a round hole. But when it came to the quarterback position, he was schizophrenic, in my opinion. And let me tell you what I mean by that. What I mean by that is he knew what hurt his defense. So he would recruit that type of guy. But then he would also recruit the type of quarterback that he'd always grown up with. That's why we've always had in the Saban recruiting, we've had a dual threat guy and a AJ McCarron, or a dual threat guy and a Mac Jones, a dual threat guy and a Ty Simpson, because he could not go all in offensively with a guy like Jalen. I'm just convinced of that. And he would be forced to go there. Okay. Now, the Jalen effect, X, what we saw Saturday. Georgia came out playing zone. Why? Because they could not play man-to-man. You play man-to-man against Jalen Milroe, and then you try to spy him, you just pulled your help safety out. Okay? So it's almost like playing zero coverage. And if that guy can't stay with Jalen and they have deep routes down the field, the DBs have their back to the quarterback unless they do the vision coverage like we teach under Womack. And we'll play that audio tomorrow about the vision coverage and why Alabama's getting more knockdowns and breakups and leading the country. But the other part, X, is this is why I think that what we saw Saturday is going to become even better. You're going to have to pick your poison. Do you spy Jalen Milroe? Do you play zone? Do you play man? Because now, do you stop Jalen from running and he beats you with the pass? Because there's a weapon on the outside that no one has proven that they can cover him one-on-one. You will now have to listen to this, X. We could possibly go into a game where you have to bracket Ryan Williams, so that's two guys, and spy Jalen Milroe.
That's right? Scary.
I mean, let that sink in. You what do you pick? And if you do that, then you can't play the run game, and our run game takes over. If you don't spy Jalen, then he takes over with the run. If you spy Jalen and stop the run game, because if you don't bracket Ryan Williams, he's showing that he's going to get his triple number. He's going to go over 100. So, I mean, woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe
this
effect.
Offense is
but it's
the
Jalen Milroe effect, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter if you bracket Ryan if the quarterback is stationary because he's no threat to run. It doesn't matter if you don't have to spy a quarterback unless he's a threat to run. So Jalen is impacting the game plan because they're building around him versus just the threat of it. It's not a threat now, it's a reality. I could not imagine being a defensive coach trying to prepare for Alabama now.
Yeah. You do that, and Alabama has a field day at 100%, and you'll see a guy like Jeremy Bernard, Kobe Prentice, and Emmanuel Henderson, Kendrick Law just absolutely start to take off because what you gonna do? You gonna stick all those guys out one-on-one?
You know who's gonna benefit the most?
Tight end. And we saw it some Saturday. So you have to put somebody over the top. Then that leaves the middle of the field. Go ahead and close it out. Last 20 seconds. Yeah. But, hey, this is the Martin Heath Show with Martin and Xavier. Man, what a fun conversation today talking about the growth of Jalen and this offensive line, along with some recruiting news. We'll continue more conversation, more talking about Vanderbilt and what Alabama has to do not to have a hangover. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. For Martin, for Xavier, for Chase, and for all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters, thanks for being part of the show. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. And don't forget tonight at 6 p.m., we'll have the West Alabama High School Pigskin Preview Show. Roll Tide, everybody.
We gon' celebrate and have a good time.
Question for you. Would you rather pay $150 a month or $15 a month to work out with the same high-quality gym equipment? At Planet Fitness, you can get top-tier equipment for $15 a month. Plus, save $28 or more when you join now during our Strong Choice sale. Our weights weigh the same, you just don't pay the same. Enjoy free fitness training and 24-hour access at most clubs, all in the judgment-free zone. Join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more when you join for $1 down, $15 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends October 10th. See club for details.